Good news! Well, there's slightly bad news as well. The bad news is it's Friday afternoon once again, but it's 3 weeks on since we started this ST220 rear brakes and subframe bushes, poly bushes. Now, some of you have messaged me about changing the D bushes, the anti-roll bar drop links and the passenger side handbrake cable. Don't worry, Dan has seen all the comments. He has sent me some D bushes, he's replaced the anti-roll bar drop links and the handbrake cable. I'll show you all that. I just want to check these D bushes. These are Power Flex as well, the good make. They even come with some lubrication. Oh, they're nice. Nice purple ones. So I'll pop them on in a minute. Also, most importantly, what I have been waiting for are the brake lines, the braided brake hoses. And these are Goodrich, 100% pressure tested, premium performance. So, it's been a long wait for these. Apparently, they were making them. That's why it's taking so long. But I do believe the actual unions on the original ones, they were the wrong unions and they were too short. These are a lot longer, but I can't check at the minute because they're packaged up and it's sealed. I'll have a look in a minute. But if these work, woohoo, we can actually get the back end of this done up today. That's what I intend to do, get it back on its wheels today. Then I can roll it off the ramp. And you have to do the clutch and that. I'll do that on a 2-poster ramp. Right then. Right. Let's get this show on the road. So with any luck, these brake hoses are going to fit. Yeah, at least the flipping union looks a lot better than the last ones did. Okay, let's do this. Do that. We'll go on to the actual caliper first. We'll screw this in. Now make sure I don't get it cross-threaded. There, we're going. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get this screwed all the way in, and I'm going to tighten this up first, and then we'll attempt to fix it to the brake pipe. That is a 13mm nut. I'm going to whack that up, but not stupidly tight, because I don't want to snap it. There, that's it. Just a little note here. These bloody clips that actually hold the brake hose onto the bracket on the body, they're actually too thin, because the actual ridge in here is quite thin and they fit through that quite easily. But the new hoses, this ridge is too wide, so I've actually had to bend this. I've sort of like had to curve the thing over a bit to make it a bit wider so I can slot it in and it will hold the hose. The brake pipe union is into the hose. It's not tight and it's dripping brake fluid as we speak. I'm going to tighten this union up and hopefully we won't be leaking no more brake fluid. Yeah! Nearly. That's it. And a little bit of brake cleaner. Give that a wipe. Woohoo! I tell you, we're getting somewhere now. The brake hoses are on. I'm going to bleed the brakes now. And we've got DOT 5.1 brake fluid. Never had any brake fluid so good in this place. So I'm just going to top the bottle up before we actually get started. I'm just using like the standard pipe into a bottle of brake fluid here to bleed these brakes. So I'll crack that union off. And the other end of my pipe is in a bottle of brake fluid. I'm going to start pumping this brake pedal slowly. See if we can get these brakes bled up. Right, I think we've got a continuous stream of fluid coming out of here of no air. So I'll pull that off. That is that's dripping now. So I'm gonna whack this up. There. I'll bleed the other side and then see if we've got a good brake pedal. Right. I've got some pressure on the brake pedal. I'm going to check for some leaks. Any leaks you might have in a minute. I don't think there are any. By the way, I've bled the brakes quite a bit, so I've got all the fluid from the reservoir going all the way down to the back. So I know I've got brand spanking new brake fluid all throughout the brake lines and the calipers at the back. Anyway, the pedal feels bloody good. I'll go and check for leaks. If everything's okay, we can put the bloody wheels back on after 3 weeks. Woohoo! Yep, fantastic. No leaks. And just for the finishing touch, pop. Now we've bled the calipers and pumped the foot pedal, we can now refit our handbrake cable onto the caliper. And once these are fitted, I can then adjust up the handbrake cable at the front to get the right amount of, like, how much travel you want on the actual lever. That's my cable all adjusted. Yeah, that's working like a little lovely. One last thing to note here, when you've made all your handbrake adjustments, see that lever there, that little Allen key bolt, that lever should be butted up against this bolt when the handbrake's in the off position. Because if the handbrake's pulled off that bolt, then it's over tightened. So make sure it's just at the point where it's just coming off that bolt, where it's, well, just resting on it. Anyway, the question is, does the purple and yellow match? And we have a pair of shiny new anti-roll bar drop links. I will point out, the actual nut on this bottom ball joint, I had to literally cut the nut off, it was on that bad, whereas the top one come off easy. Now with the task of putting this exhaust back on, I'm going to put some silicone spray in them rubbers, help them slide on a bit easier. There. Yeah! Butter! Sweet! There's different torque settings for these wheel nuts. Depends whether they've got the conical washers on them or not. These have got the conical washers. So they are 110 Newton meters. If they didn't have the washers, they'd be 130. And just to note, in the hubcap, there's a little slot there, and that lines up with your tyre valve. Like so. Right then, now that the back end is all done up, I'm going to fit the front brakes. So it's Focus ST brakes fitted onto this Mondeo ST, which these Focus brakes are a lot bigger and a lot more powerful. And we're going to be using EBC brake pads. And also, look at these brake discs. Woohoo! The funny thing is, they don't actually tell you, throughout all the writing that's on the bloody box, they don't tell you which way these grooves are supposed to go. And I've actually never fitted vented discs like this, slotted discs, grooved discs. I had to Google this, I had to literally Google it. But apparently, the actual slot goes forward, if you know what I mean. I'll show you when we get it on the car. So the actual air comes through, goes into the groove and cools the disc better. Okay, whatever. Water! I'm just going to check something here, because I remember years ago we used to change a lot of these discs. They would be literally welded to the bloody hubs, and I'd have to smash them off with a hammer, and there'd be bits of disc flying everywhere, which sounds like good fun. Oh, well, I'm sorry, but it's a disappointment. They're not even stuck to the hub flanges, so they're going to come off quite easy. Right, I'm going to disconnect the brake pipe later, so I'll clamp this hose for the time being so we don't have brake fluid pissing everywhere. Right, I'm going to clamp this collar with some mole grips. Mole grips are useful. 12mm bolt. Get that loosened. 14mm brake hose size. You know what, I've flipping tried. That is not budging. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave the hose on this caliper and I'm going to undo it from the brake pipe end. So the burning question is, will the brake pipe undo? This is where it probably all goes wrong. Yeah! Oh! Flipping heck. Oh my God, that's actually come undone. Right, now we're in business. I'm just going to whack that securing clip out of the way. There. Now that brake pipe's out, I can fit my blanker on there, stop that leaking, like that, and pull the brake hose out. I'm just going to knock that rubber out of that bracket. Now, with any luck, that should slide straight off. But there we go. Two 15mm bolts hold this carrier to the hub. Let's see if they undo. Yep. Funny thing is, these brake pads are almost brand new. Bit of a waste, really. That's that off. Yeah, I would have loved the disc to have been stuck on so I could have hammered the crap out of it, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. I'm just going to give these hub flanges like a good clean up with wire brush, just to make sure there's no crap on them that could potentially warp the new discs. Right, these discs come with a black coating. we're using the actual EBC brakes to match these discs. So the actual brake pads themselves will remove this black coating. But I'm just going to put a little bit of brake cleaner on them anyway, in case there is any kind of grease on them, just to make sure they're perfectly clean. There we go. Lovely. Ta-ra! See, what I was trying to say earlier, and I honestly did not know this. The airflow comes this way into these grooves. So this is the way round these discs are supposed to sit. Woo! What do you reckon? Nice blue? Anyway, let's have a better look at this. This part here, this carrier, is going to actually bolt to the hub. The brake pads are going to sit in here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pads in first, because they'll clip into here. This will then bolt in, and then I'll bolt the whole lot onto the car. So we've got EBC brakes to match the discs. If I can open the packet. Oh, they're all sealed. Oh, they come with stickers. Ooh! You can stick them on your windows. Thanks for choosing EBC. Thumbs up. Anyway, what have we got? Bloody hell. They come wrapped nicely. Oh, look at that. This must be the special coating on the pads to remove the special coating on the discs. You'll also notice these brake pads, there's two different types of clips, because they only fit in the caliper one bloody way round. I'm going to show you. First up, I need to remove this carrier. The one with the actual big silver clip is the one that actually goes into the piston. So that's going to go in there like that. Dong! And the pad with the little like The more smaller, squarer clip goes on the outside part of the caliper. So that should, there we go, bingo. See how that clip sits through the actual outside of the caliper? So you can't really get them in wrong. When I slot this caliper carrier into place, you'll notice how it dogs into the pads, holds them in place. Yaffa! It is easier to bolt this caliper carrier to the car first, which is what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to slide the caliper onto this. But first up, I'm just going to give these, where the pads sit, just a clean up, just to make sure there's no crap in there. There. Let's screw this braided brake hose into the caliper, see if it fits. Blimey, it's gone in. Link that up a little bit. You'll notice there's a gap there, which is good. We don't want the nut to butt up against the caliper. We know that, that's gone tight, so we know it's sealed inside here. That's good. Oh. Right, I'm going to lock off the bleed nipple and see if we've got a brake pedal. Feels good. Funny thing is, the actual clip at the front here went in and I didn't have to bend it at all, and it's actually held it quite nicely. And our securing grommet onto our shock absorber bracket is in. I had to use some silicone spray on that because that was a bit tough to actually push in. Right, well that's it, that's the driver's side all done. So that will now slot on, and I'll bolt the two 15mm bolts back in. Yeah, that's it, nice and tight. Once I slide this caliper back onto the carrier, these two 7mm bolts here are what are going to be used to tighten this actual caliper back onto the carrier. These little slider pins that hold the caliper to the carrier, they're actually in pretty good nick, they're not even dirty. But I'm going to give them a quick clean anyway, because you can get rubber stuck to these and then it kind of hinders them when the caliper's supposed to slide on them. Now that our sliders are all nice and shiny, I'll pop them back in. Okay. Ta-da! Oh, what a perfect fit. I'll just bolt these Allen key screws up. And don't forget the little black covers that go over the bolt heads to stop crap getting in there. Right, this could be the tricky bit. There's a nice little spring clip you've got to fit. I think the procedure is to position it. There's a little lug there which goes into the clip in the middle. If you just hold it there, then try and flick the outer bits of the clip behind the actual carrier. Watch your fingers and it will snap into place like that. If you don't have the right procedure or the knack of fitting them spring clips, you could find yourself, how can I put it, losing your shit? Just saying. Tell you what, that's the standard brake hose that I've just taken off on the standard caliper on this Mondeo. And this hose here, this is off the ST Focus caliper. Look at the size of that bore. Mind you, I suppose it needs sort of like the extra fluid going through through there for the extra braking power. Right, everything was going too well. We've now got a huge problem. The brake caliper on this passenger side front, if I take this braided hose and screw it in, and I've checked the hoses, they're all exactly the same length as each other. The nut butts right up against the caliper casing. Completely, there's no more thread. And that's loose there. Where that nut butts up against that casing, the hose is loose. So it's not actually sealing on the union inside here. So if I tighten that up, it's going to piss out fluid everywhere, I just know it is. there's something wrong with this caliper. And I say I've checked both of these hoses compared to the old hoses. There's nothing wrong with the hoses. We've got a problem with this caliper. Just out of interest, I've put this braided hose into this bloody original caliper, and I'm going to see how far it screws in. Yeah, just as I thought. That's gone tight there. The union of that hose has sealed inside here, but you've got a gap there, so the nut isn't butted up against the casing, which is good. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't want to sort of like mess with that Focus ST caliper. I mean, if it were my car and my caliper, I would probably I'd probably put some rag in here. I'd get an angle grinder and I would grind this whole surface area down a bit, so the actual nut was not butting up against this. But I don't know if there's a deeper issue with that caliper going on, so I'd rather not sort of like mess around a bit just yet. It's all a little bit dodgy. Alright then, here's the situation. I've decided that grinding down the brake caliper so the brake hose nut does not touch the actual casing, I don't really want to go down that route, just in case it doesn't solve it, and I don't want to actually deface the brake caliper. Secondly, we have made up a little union here, a double female union with a male union connected to it, MIG welded together. This is a viable option, but then again, I'm now thinking about it. You can get a tiny pinhole in MIG weld, so over time something may go wrong with that, and there will always be a question mark over this. I mean, these are brake lines, they're under high pressure, so whatever way I'm going to go about this, it needs to be done right. The only thing I can think of at the moment is to get a double male ended connection, brake union connection, and a double female connection. Screw the two together. The male end can then go into the caliper. The brake hose will then screw into the female end. At least they are properly manufactured brake unions. That will work. I've actually ordered them and they'll be here in the next few days. So for the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the original rubber brake hose back onto the ST brake caliper on the passenger front. So we'll have 3 braided brake hoses on the car, but the passenger front will still be the standard rubber brake hose. Because I know that the rubber brake hose goes on and it bleeds up okay, there's no leaks or nothing, and it fits fine. So at least I know it's safe that way. And at the end of the day, when this car's gone, I need to know that whatever time in the future it's going to be safe. So whatever way, it's going to be done properly. So if my union, if the unions don't work, then the only option really left is either to get something manufactured properly or get another caliper. That's it. But anyway, I've still got the clutch to do on the car, so while I'm doing the clutch, which will probably be next week now, by that time the union should arrive, so I can put them on at the same time, and I'll show you what happens as I get to that point again. If I fit the original brake hose and screw that all the way down, that goes tight there, and I've still got a bit of thread left, so I can now tighten that brake hose, and I can see there's a gap there, so I know we're okay. I know that's sealed inside the caliper. So in the meantime, I'll just refit the old hose back in as it should be and bleed it all up like this. So I've got the brake hose, which actually came with this ST Focus caliper on, bled up everything. It's a bit of a shame I can't put the braided hose onto this caliper at the minute, but I'll sort that later. Da, da, da! There we go. Doesn't that look bloody lovely? Right, let's see if the wheels go on. Just to check they don't actually catch anything. I'm sure that's going to be fine. Woo! Right, I'm going to end the video now because I've gone as far as I can with this. I'm going to sort this driver's front brake out next week. In the meantime, I'm about to park this out in the shed now. I've got other cars to do. In fact, what I'm going to show you is one of the jobs I've got to do. On top of that, things are going from bad to worse at the minute. The heating oil inside the garage has ran out, and it is absolutely frigging freezing. And when you get that cold, you really don't feel like working. But anyway, as soon as I get the chance, the next job on this Mondeo ST is going to be get the gearbox out, change the clutch and flywheel, rear main oil seal. I've got a genuine Ford rear main oil seal for this. £36 that oil seal cost. Flipping heck. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll resume this next week hopefully. I'm going to show you something because I've got a car. I've got a Range Rover Vogue 54 plate in the garage which I've got a job to do on. It's been, the battery apparently keeps getting drained overnight, and I mean it would leave it in the evening, in the morning the alarm's going off because the battery's flat. I've been unplugging all sorts on it and looking around it and I can't find nothing wrong with it. But I'm going to show you something on it which I found rather interesting. A little test. Have a look. Ta-ra! If any of you have ever owned a Range Rover Vogue, good bloody luck with that then! Anyway, as I said, apparently this keeps draining the battery, and I've been reading up online, and all I'm going to show on this is because I haven't found a fault with it, but I'm going to show you a little test which supposedly is a common problem. It's to do with the HVAC, which is heating, ventilation and air conditioning system. There's a heater resistor in these, okay, which apparently plays up and it keeps a little fan on inside the cabin which sucks like air from the cabin and measures the temperature of the ambient air inside the cabin or something like that. Anyway, I'm just going to show you this little test because apparently these little fans can stay on. And if you know, when you lock these cars up, it takes between 16 and 20 minutes for everything to shut down. So I'm going to measure the ampage drain off the battery. So what I've basically got is, I've disconnected the earth terminal off the battery and I'm going to connect an amp meter between the earth terminal and the battery negative terminal, and we're going to wait and we're going to count the time and see how long it takes for the amps to drop. First up, I'm going to plug my earth into my amp meter. And you'll see we've got a drain at the moment. I mean, take in consideration the battery's disconnected, okay? Now I've plugged my amp meter in, we've got a drain of 3 amps basically, which is actually dropping. But I'm going to show you something now. This is the little test we do. On your centre console, you get a little bit of tissue paper, and you see here there's a little vent. There's a fan in there, and it sucks air in and measures the ambient air temperature. So we get our little piece of tissue, and we put that there, and you see you see the tissue stays there. It's being sucked in, and obviously once the system gets shut down, the tissue should fall off. But after like 20 minutes, if that tissue doesn't fall off, then the fan keeps going. Then we have to change our heater resistor. So I'll just shut that door for a minute, and I don't know if we can really see it, but I might have to zoom in a little bit. A little bit of tissue is still stuck on the dash. I'll get a better shot of it in a minute. I've actually timed this quite well. It's like, oh look, 10 o'clock. So now, around about between quarter past and 20 past 10, we should get a result. So now, because we just locked it, I'm still reading like just over 3 amps at the minute drain, which is blibbing far too much. So I'm going to wait now like between 15 and 20 minutes and see what this ampage drops down to. This is not very good because I'm getting a lot of reflection through the bloody closed window of this, but I think you can probably just make out the piece of rag is still holding on so that the fan is still going. It's now 5 past 10 in the morning. So I'm still sitting on like 2.65 amps being drained from the battery, 5 minutes in. But like I say, we've got to wait for at least 16 minutes. Right, well, we're nearly 15 minutes in now. You see my little piece of tissue on the centre console is still hanging on there. And I don't know whether you can see, just in the corner there's a little light. The glove box is open, the glove box light is on as well. So, in a few minutes' time, the glove box light should go out, and our little piece of tissue should literally fall off the dash.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, there we go! Did you see that? Look at that. Flipping heck, that has gone down to 0.19 of an amp. That, flipping heck. Let me put my cup of tea down, for God's sake. That is next to nothing. That is running the clock and probably the alarm, because we've got a little like flashing alarm on the interior mirror. That amount there is nothing. That will not drain the battery overnight. No way. That says to me that at this precise moment in time, there's no drain. Mind you, let's go and check our little piece of rag on the dash and see if that's dropped off. Da, da, da. It obviously has fallen off, otherwise there'll be more of a drain. There it is, there it is, it's fallen down. We know our little fan has stopped working. And the interior light on the bloody glove box is off as well. Woohoo! Right, well I can't find the drain on this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to shut the bonnet, lock it all up. I'm going to leave it till Monday now, because it's Saturday. I'm going to leave it till Monday. If it starts up fine, then I don't know what to say. I have heard these Range Rovers are riddled with electrical problems. But I've been through all, like, especially in the passenger rear, where all the amplifiers and CD players and all that, and telephone, I've been through all the connections and everything. So maybe I fixed something, unknowingly done something, and maybe resolved it, I don't know. But it seems fine at the minute. Anyway, I need to end this video. I think before I go, because it's been bloody cold, we've got no heating in here, I ain't feeling great, but we're just going to go up, see Mrs. Monica, get her to say hello, just to end the video. Okay, let's go. Woo! Nah, not at that price. How is it going, money?
Well, it's nice and warm in here, so I'm good.
Well, I've just come from the goddamn North Pole. Flipping hand gel. You've got to be shitting me. Anyway, here's the situation. The only reason I come up here today, Money, is because I've made this video. I haven't had time for fun and games, so all you need to do is your little bit of participation and say hello to the viewers.
Hi guys, I hope you like this video. Subscribe, comment. If not, see him.
Thanks, Money. Pass the buck. So till the next time, guys. See ya!